Ray Stubbs here, and it's time to enter the world of podcasts. Better late than never. And in what are unprecedented times, I'm sure a great many of us are catching up with people, checking they're okay, reminiscing about days gone by, and wondering what the coming weeks might bring. Over the next few weeks, we hope to produce this weekly podcast, which for reasons that no one had a better idea is going to be called Jiffy and Stubbsy. As everyone knows, Jiffy is acknowledged as one of the greatest rugby players of either code. Jonathan Davis is in Wales. I'm in southwest London. We'll be talking about today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Can you remember how you and I actually met?
It must have been Question of Sport, was it?
Yeah, you were in the bath.
Yeah, I don't think I met you while I was in the bath. I might have met you with some clothes on first, right? And then, knowing you, you'd have said, "Oh, I got a great idea, John. You've got to take all your clothes off and jump in the bath." And me being stupid, I said, "Well, that sounds a good idea."
Well, so let me explain. Question of Sport Days, mystery personality. Jiffy, you were in the bath. Loads of the old foam going all over the place and loads of those lovely little yellow rubber ducks. You should use your BBC contacts and get that out the BBC archives, because I'd love to put that on social media.
Maybe if I lose my BBC contacts, I make sure he never sees the light of day again. I might have been in good nick then, actually, because I was still playing. So I was, when you think of it, right, and with Question of Sport, how we met, and I think Carl Doran was there, wasn't he? And he's still working at the BBC. He's still doing Sports Personality of the Year. We just turn up, and it was as if you were asked to go on Question of Sport, right, as if you'd made it.
It's massive.
It was, and it still is. If you think of it, it's the longevity of it is unbelievable, and the captains have been, real sporting icons, really. So it's when you were asked to go on it, it was just fantastic. And the good thing about it was we did the question, the mystery guest, which was the Ducks. The second one I remember, I've done loads for you. I did one when I was in an army base in Burton Wood, remember? Dressed up like in a camouflage outfit. And then the worst one I did, I think, was a day after a match where we usually have a few beers afterwards. I was a bit hungover, and you made me clean the elephant house out full of elephant shit. I never forget that. I was green, when I was doing it. But you just did it because of Question of Sport, and then to get on the show, I think it's different now because I've been on with Tough as a Mad, and it's a bit more, I don't know, kind of condensed, or they go 1, 2, 3. I suppose people's time are precious. When I went on with David Coleman, you were lucky not to get on that show pissed. Because he was drinking, I think, a gin and tonic or vodka. Both them and Beaumont were on it all the time. And you just met the most amazing people. You must have been the same, to ring someone up that maybe you'd never have access to. And then when you said, "Will you do mystery guest Question of Sport?" they must have gone, yes.
Oh, yeah, it was absolutely take liberty. By the way, can we just get something straight? There was a degree of cinema license in this. And in the Elephant House, you were struggling. And yes, it was facially, it was all you. But the actual clearing of the elephant stuff was probably me as your stunt double.
Not all of it. Not all of it.
Yes.
Not all of it.
And, you're talking about the programme there. My days were Emlyn and Bill, and they were the captains. But I remember when Ian Botham was the captain and Gascoigne came on, and Gascoigne asked them if Advocaat was alcoholic or not. Botham told him it wasn't, and Gaz had drank 3 bottles of it before the programme, just weighed in and kept going and going. Happy days, Jiffy.
Wasn't he drinking BMW? Brandy, Malibu and whiskey, wasn't he? Something as well, Gaza at the time? He was just... But then again, you just go on the show and everyone get on it, and then it'd be a great atmosphere, and you just sit there and relax and get to know people. So it's just an extraordinary programme, and I'm glad it's still going. But I played football in the off. When you're growing up from a little village, I played midfield, maybe a little bit for the village, when they were short. But because of rugby, you just stuck with the rugby. But off season, I played with a lot of good players. So we played 5-a-side football, full size pitch, 5-a-side. So they'd stick me in the front, hit it over the top, and then I could have a one-on-one with the goalies then. And we played against a lot of semi-professional players who had played for Arsenal, Man City, and just maybe failed. So it was a very high standard, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was good for fitness and for the up and coming rugby season, because I run a hell of a lot.
Jiffy, I remember playing social rugby, and we had a team called Turnix Tornadoes. We had a team called the Dream Team. It's like sort of approaching sort of 4th, 5th vets team, good players in their day coming to the end. And I remember I was starting to try and forge a broadcasting career, and I was presenting final score. And when we played one day, it was around about Christmas time, and all of a sudden I felt a right old bang, and some bloke said, "Good luck with that one tomorrow on the telly." I had a massive black eye, massive black eye. And then the next day I had to do anything possible to try and get this down or cover it up to do the football scores the next day.
So I tell you, it's so many. So when I was playing five-a-side, I used to play against a guy called Di Farmor, which is Di the Farmer, right? And he played kind of centre back, only five-a-side, but he was the defender in this five-a-side. And it was hard ground, right? And I'd take the ball, I'd follow the ball, hold the ball up, and I could hear him coming, right? The hard ground, he had studs in. He was wearing Adidas flanker boots, right? Up over his ankles. And I just braced myself because I knew he was coming straight through the back of me, right? And that was it. And up in the air I would go. He'd do it a few times, but the referee was another farmer as well, so he'd never get booked, and I get kicked the living daylights out of it as well. So you in those days it was just, unless you had really serious injuries, I think you just accepted it, and you carried on with the game. So I'm glad the game has. I'm not sure if it's cleaned up that much, when there's no cameras around, but I'm glad it's cleaned up on all professional levels.
Thank you to a very special guest for joining us. The captain, no less, of Wolverhampton Wanderers, Conor Cody. Conor, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Are you well, first of all?
Thank you for having me on, fellas. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's something where it seems a little bit long now, doesn't it? It seems to be going on and feeling long while you're obviously inside. But listen, these times have got to be done. It's something where we've never experienced it before, but it's something where you just want everyone better and everybody safe, and then we can start moving forward then.
You got 3 young lads, 3 young kids, Cody. How's that in the house? It must be hard work trying to keep them occupied. How old are they?
Do you know what? It's great. I've got a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old who's 3 next week, and then a 1-year-old as well.
So that's got to be hard,
mate. It's up the wall, I tell you. It's up the wall. But to be fair, when this first obviously happened and we went into lockdown, me and Amy, me and my wife said that we need a bit of a routine, because that's what I'm used to. Do you know what I mean? In terms of going to football and a little bit of a routine. We did me little man's in reception, so the homeschool isn't that hard. I'll be honest with you. So we do Joe Wicks in the morning. You just mentioned Joe Wicks. So we do him in the morning, and then we get into a bit of a thing then. So it's all right. It sounds.
How much do you have to do, Conor, fitness-wise? You do Joe Wicks, but do you have to do other stuff as well? And to what extent is it all online and gets monitored back to Wolves?
Yeah, do you know what? I think our club's quite unique in terms of how they do it. Our staff at Wolves are absolutely fantastic. Honestly, they're the best I've ever worked with in terms of what they do. And every off-season, and obviously this part of the season now that's going on, they give us watches and then heart rate monitors and GPS that go into our back. And on the watches is the runs that you've got to do. And honestly, mate, it's so hard. So the Joe Wicks in the morning is for the kids. Do you know what I mean? We just do it, enjoying it with the kids. That's something for them. But in terms of my own training, I tend to do it around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I go over the field, which is just like literally next door to mine. And I do my runs. So they monitor all that. You've got to sit, they then get all the data and all the stats off it. And then make sure you're keeping up to speed with what you need to do.
Who's giving you the hardest, the hardest game? Who's the most difficult, player you've defended?
Do you know what? I've been asked this question loads of times, to be honest, and it's something where them sorts of players, you know what sort of game you're going to be in for. You know, for 95 minutes, people are going to be at you 95 minutes over and over again, wave after wave, wave after wave. And it's something where you've got to be brave and try and step up and be brave as a team, really, as an 11. I'll be honest, the players who I need to make sure that I need to get better at playing against these players, like obviously before he left Newcastle. Do you know Solomon Rondon, who used to be at Newcastle?
Yeah.
He's tough, honestly, and people might be a little bit shocked or whatever, but he was a real tough player to come up against, and that's something for me that I feel I need to improve personally to try and defend and make sure I'm stronger and better in terms of them situations. But I think looking at them sorts of players, they're the ones for me who I find most toughest.
And also, you know, that you've moved from the midfield, you know,
Yeah.
to defensive, right? Do
Yeah.
you know, because of your kind of midfield experience, do you think you read plays better then when you're back in the defence because you maybe played this sport or that sport before?
Yeah, I think it's probably helped, to be honest, mate. I think it's something that's helped me over the years that I've played. And I'll be honest now, if I was to be put into central midfield now, I think I might find it quite tough and get up to speed as quick as most players, because obviously it's a lot different. But I think playing there growing up and a few years at first team level has helped me drop back. But that's something I try and work on, to be honest, reading the game and to become better at it. Because I feel like if I can do that, especially against them big players that I've just been talking about, obviously the big, strong, physical players, it'll give me a little edge type thing. So that's something I try and work on every single day, just to try and read it and read where the ball's going, whether I can step in front or if I can give someone a little nudge to then let the ball go over. I think that's something I can work on even more at the minute as well.
Connor, what stands out from your days at Anfield?
In terms of coming through?
Yeah, the people that were there at the time, the players that you were seeing, your earliest memories of football, just those formative years for you.
Do you know what, mate? Do you know what? I got a fantastic upbringing. I did. It was such an amazing club to be at. It's still even better now in terms of what they're doing and how big the club is now. But I think in terms of me and my upbringing, it was amazing. It was something all I ever wanted and more. Honestly, it's an amazing club. But I think the people there helped me. The players I was with helped me, and then obviously getting up to the point where I was training at Melwood all the time. That was a massive achievement for myself to obviously get that far and do that. But the amount of people there and the good people there who brought me through and helped me improve, not just as a player, but as a person as well, they were fantastic, yeah.
Who are the Liverpool players that stand out for you from your formative years?
I played with quite a few good ones. Obviously, I'll always remember a game. So I think we must have been 17, 18, and we were playing Everton. We used to call it, I think we still do, call it the mini derby in the under-18s. And it was Raheem Sterling. So they'd just signed Raheem Sterling from QPR. And I think he must have only been about 14, 15, honestly. So we played with us in the 18s. And I think we won 4-3. And I think at the time, playing for Everton 18s with Shane Duffy, Mustafi, he was there at the time. Jose Baxter was there at the time. They had a good side, a real good side. And Raheem Sterling played against Luke Garbutt. And Luke Garbutt's a good player. He's at Ipswich now. But he's obviously come through with Everton and different things. And Raheem, he's only 14 years of age. Luke Garbutt was my age, 17, 18. And Raheem was unreal, mate. And that was his first game, honestly. So just looking at someone like him who's obviously gone on and done what he's done and playing for City was amazing, mate, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to do that, but I'll do something and chip in. No chance of doing that. Thank you to our very, very special guest for joining us today, top golfer, Andrew Beef Johnston. Can I call you Beef, first of all? First time I've ever spoken to you. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, 90% of people call me Beef, so yeah.
What is your, Beef, if Jonathan's moment playing for Wales is his big moment, what's your biggest moment so far? Would that be being on the first tee in an Open, or?
Oh, I think winning Spanish Open is probably, one of the big moments. I'd say also winning Challenge Tour, Order of Merit, was a big moment too. And the 2016 Open, I'd say, the big moments.
Where did you play win the Spanish Open?
Valderrama.
Oh, I played. That's amazing there. I couldn't believe, if you missed the fairway by 2 yards, right? How thick the grass was. You couldn't actually find it for a start, and then to get it out there was unbelievable. So, but it's a pleasure to play those courses. What a course that is. Yeah,
it's good. It's different to a lot of the courses we play on the tour. It reminds me a bit of my home course in a way. It's tight, it's fiddly, and you just got to keep it straight and hit middle of the greens really, and not get too carried away. It's a course I always love going back to as well.
What is your routine right now, Beef? So I would imagine you're at home at this time of the year for the longest time in a long time. What is your routine at home, please?
Do you know what? It has been crazy. All the travelling, and it gets up to the point of last year when we're just about to have our first child. So I've been at home pretty much since October, mid-October. I went to the Middle East for a couple of events and spent a couple of weeks in America, but I've been at home for ages. I guess my routine at the moment is to try and train in the morning, get it done, and then work out what I'm going to eat for the rest of the day.
That's what it's like, though. So, can you practice, any golf? Have you got a, garden, a chip, or putting green or something?
I've got a net coming. So yeah. Apparently, yeah, it's been dispatched from Amazon. I'm just waiting for it now.
I'm going to put one up today. I've bought the next door neighbour's thrown it over the hedge, so I'm going to try and put it up today and keep on swinging. So just kill an hour or so. Yeah,
definitely. It's just a waiting game, and at least I can go and whack a few and stuff. Yeah. But we've got months, I think, so I'm pretty chill at the moment.
What do you have, a little girl or boy?
Little girl.
So I hope she looks like a mum, does she?
Yeah. I'm hoping that as well. Yeah.
I got 4 daughters, and I hope they look like their mum as well.
Just a couple of things to get out the way. Why Jiffy and why beef? Jeff, I've never asked you.
Oh, mine's very simple. I went to play for Neath, and there were a bunch of nutters there, right, all hard boys. And whatever they said, I would tend to do until I was made captain very quickly, so I'd stop. But there was a guy called Jonathan Griffiths, whose nickname was Jiffy. And as I came in, he was departing. So in simplistic terms, for the IQ of my forwards, they went, one Jiffy's gone, one Jiffy's come in, and that stuck. 1982, that was.
Wow. Beef, why is it beef?
Mine's just as simple, really. I was about 12, 13. I was walking up one of the holes at my home course. One of my friends was walking down another. He come over and he just said, "Look at you and your big head. It's like you've got a big bit of beef on your head. You've got a beef head." And that was it. And yeah, obviously it's just been shortened to beef now.
Do all the guys on the tour, I just, it's hard for me to imagine, I guess, that when you go in to a course and you meet the top golfers like yourself, they're all saying, "Hello, Beef. How are you, Beef?" Does Tiger Woods call you Beef?
I've only met him once. When was it? 2018 US Open. He was walking off the range. I was walking on it, and I just kind of cheekily went, "All right, Tiger," and he just turned around. He didn't say Beef. He just went, "What up, big boy?" Like that to me. He was like, "How you doing, man?" Like that. Which kind of threw me, but yeah, that's all he's ever said to
me. Yeah.
Beef, how would you describe the camaraderie amongst the golfers? Because Jonathan Jiffy comes from a team sport. Golf is an individual sport. Yeah, obviously you're meeting all the time with your fellow golfers. How would you describe the camaraderie?
I'd say it's pretty chilled out. Everyone gets along. Everyone pretty much gets along. There's never many arguments or fights, I'd say. but because it's single sport, everyone's got to do their own thing. And that's something I've always missed. It's like the team sport, playing pranks on people and things like that, and having fun as a group could be really good and sort of pushing. I guess what I miss is like people pushing each other along in the team. We don't really have that. So it's all about what you're doing, and that's when it can just get a bit isolated, I guess.
Would Ryder Cup be on your radar, on your bucket list as something that you absolutely would like to achieve?
Yeah, massively, yeah. Because that's the only time really you get the team vibe, I guess. And that's when I can start playing pranks on people.
Yeah. Do you play a lot of pranks?
One of the very few I did was we had a fog delay. We played up, it was in Madeira, up a mountain, and absolutely 30 degrees sunny. Drive up the mountain to the golf course, can't see a thing. So we're in this fog for hours, and we could go out and hit a few putts. And I noticed one of the guys' clubs were just sitting there, so I took a few out and I flipped them up the other way, like that, and left them. So anyway, I come back an hour later to grab my putter again, hit a few putts because I'm bored. They're all back, normal position, flip them again, and come back to the clubs, and he's put the rain cover on them now, and they're all back to normal. So I flipped the whole lot, put the head cover back on, like that. Anyway, he comes up to me on the putting green. I was like, "Oh, how you doing, man?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good, except for some C word." He goes, "Keeps touching my clubs," like that. And then obviously I'm like, like this. And I was like, "Who do you reckon it could be?" Like this, trying to egg him on. He's like, "I've got 4 people in mind, and my name didn't come up." And I was like, "He's got no idea."
We have two very special guests joining us today. Thank you to Mike Phillips and Graham Roundtree for joining us. Jiff, you know better than anyone, just these are two massive figures in rugby union joining us today.
Oh, huge legends, and I'm sure if we weren't on this lockdown, neither of them would talk to us because it's far too busy.
Mike, so many games for Wales, hundreds and hundreds of games for Wales. Graham played for England, coached England. You've both been on Lions tours. You've both, rugby's taken you around the world. Thank you very much for joining us. Graham, where are we talking to you from, please? Jiffy's in South Wales. I'm in Southwest London. Mike, I think you're in Dubai. Is that right?
Yeah. I've been based here. Me and the wife and the little one, we've based here for 3 years now. So it's just started raining actually, which is a bit strange. So
Oh, wait, in Dubai?
yeah, I just had to pull the clothes in off the line there. So
Graham, where are we talking to you from? Where are you talking to us from, Graham?
Hey, Ray, it's a pleasure being with these two. Well, all of you, legends. I'm in Leicester, so I work in Munster, work in Ireland, but not quite got round to moving over. We were going to do that this summer, but that's on the back burner, obviously. So I'm in Leicester with the family.
Graham, over the course of your coaching career, we'll go back to your playing career a little bit later, but over the course of your playing career, what would you say are the biggest changes? Because it just seems the game, in some ways, I'm wondering if you're going to tell me that everything changes, but nothing changes?
The crack, the ethos, the banter will never change. Crikey, I was playing for Leicester as a 19-year-old. I played in Jiffy's last game. He won't remember it. His last game for Wales, the old Arms.
Yeah, we got battered.
Remember Rob Andrews' last game as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Will Carlins.
I think you ran past me a couple of times. You won't have noticed me on the field, that's for sure. I was the one who dropped the ball a few times, missed a few tackles. But, no, I feel very grateful to have played in the amateur era. I mean, I remember playing at Leicester. Crikey, we'd come out, we'd go straight to the sponsors bar, drinking. The first thing we'd have to eat would be a burger from the burger van at 1 a.m. These days, the guys have to weigh in every morning. They get rehydration tests, etc., and they get told after the game what sponsors they've got to go and see. But I've spanned both eras. I wouldn't change anything, but changes in the game is huge. The game's quicker. Lads are bigger. Tactical analysis. Defence is bigger now. It's all about unpicking defences. But I'd say the crack, I love being a coach because you're just one step away from being a player. I love being on the field. I love drinking with them. I love drinking with Philsy. Stood on a table in Pretoria after the second test, Lions 09. I remember that night. Remember that night, Philsy?
I don't know.
You're on top of the table. Right, let me tell you this. He's on top of his table singing. And your brother was there. Your brother plays scrum half as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he used to, yeah.
Best better player, they say. He's a better player. Tells me all the time.
He's on top of the table, Philsy, steaming drunk, shirt off. I'm the best scrum half in the world and the best scrum half in the world. His brother shouts up to him, "You're not even the best scrum half in the family. Get down." I love the game. Right, that crack, that banter, the pressures are greater, but that will never change.
Guys, I'm afraid we always ask this week in, week out, that little time when we say best this, best that, because we find it fascinating. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the great players you've played alongside and the great players you've played against? What are the first things that jump to mind, please?
What a great question. What are the first things that jumped? I feel privileged to have played with some good lads, some great players, played against some great lads, coached against some great lads. I was honestly pulled through as a foot soldier with a monumental Leicester team that won a lot and played with some great players like Martin Johnson. Martin Johnson wouldn't let you beat him at Tiddlywinks. You're back in the old days of the John Player Cup, which is a real amateur rugby competition. We would play against the likes of Barking from London, an amateur team. And Jono he'd play at 1,000% against them, the same as he played against Australia the week before at Twickenham. Just players like that. Neil Back was the same. Johnny Wilkinson was the same. I feel privileged to have played the likes of those guys and played against the likes of Jonah Lomu, claim to fame, he stamped on me. Just here. Look at the little scar. Here. Jonah Lomu stamped on me. How many people can say that?
Was
That was
that on the way back from scoring a try or something? How did you get close to him?
on the way back, and 50 metres back from when he scored it. I wouldn't have got near him. Now I was at the bottom of a ruck in Dunedin. We played them. Danny Grewcock had been sent off, and there was a ruck, and he stamped on me. And I had to go to the hearing the next day as an expert witness. Well, the victim. And he still got off because he's Jonah Lomu. And I applauded when he was announced that he got off it as well.
Yes.
No, I played with some great guys, Stubbsy, but played against some brilliant players as well.
Like?
Well, I was actually Jonah Long's teammate in Cardiff Blues when he came to Wales, and that was unbelievable to share a dressing room with one of your heroes, and he was just phenomenal. Really, you couldn't quite believe it. So. And such a lovely guy as well, and phenomenal rugby player, wasn't he? And I guess again, I mentioned him before, going to France to play with Dan Carter, and he was phenomenal. He never put a foot wrong, and it wasn't the fact that he did. He didn't do every touch wasn't amazing. He just made the right decision every single time, never made a mistake, and just we won the league with him there. He's just phenomenal. He was top player and a great bloke off the field as well.
Absolutely. Now,
well done, Ray.
Jiff, what a special guest we have got today. World Championships, world records, Olympic medals, winner of the Tour de France, Geraint Thomas. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
No, I'm delighted that you could come on, Ger. I've been following your charity rides and everything. So, but because you're usually in Monaco, where are you now?
Yeah, I'm in Cardiff now. So basically 17th of March is when France made their announcement that they were locking down. So made a quick judgment call really just to come back with my wife and son because, didn't want to be stuck in an apartment out there basically. So come back here to a house with a garden and it's actually been cracking weather, haven't it, for most of it in Cardiff anyway. So...
I need to ask you about Alpe d'Huez and Ventoux. They said you really need to hear from you about what it's like going up those magical climbs.
Yeah, Alpe d'Huez is it's just iconic. It's probably the most famous climb of the tour, I would say. The fans, it's just lined from bottom to top.
They're crazy, aren't they?
Yeah, it must be 12k. I'm probably wrong now, but it's long. And it's just lined the whole way up, and then they have Dutch corner, which is just insane. The whole of the Netherlands descend onto that corner, and it's just bonkers. There's a Welsh corner now though, which was nice, yeah. To win up there was just phenomenal, especially wearing the yellow jersey. It's kind of insane, really. Even now, when I look back, it's just it's a climb which, as a kid, I'd run home from school and just watch the TV of the tour, and that would be the stage, that you had to see, and never even dreamt I'd be winning up there. So that was special. And Ventoux as well, that's just so long and epic. At the top as well, it's all barren, and there's no trees, and obviously there's Tommy Simpson died riding up there years ago. So it's the history and things. That's what makes, I think, the tour so special as well. So yeah,
I can't. I went skiing up to Wes, and I can't believe that someone cycles up there. It's just unbelievable. And isn't there a name on every corner?
Yeah. So the winners, everyone that's won up there during the Tour de France has got a corner now. So I think I'm on corner. It might be 13 or 15.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
I remember coming down.
Up there.
Yeah. I remember coming down, right, with all the kids going back home after a skiing holiday, and the French guy is driving on the phone, having a sandwich and trying to smoke a cigarette at the same time, and we haven't said a word all the way down. We are shitting ourselves, all of us. And coming on, on the back of a bad fall, like the spleen injury you had. I saw one. Where did I was watching it live. and you went over the top of the road. Where was that one? I
Oh.
can't remember what it was now.
You did a stage with a broken pelvis once, didn't you?
Yeah. So that was 2013. Well, I fractured my pelvis on the first stage, and managed to get through the next few days, and then it slowly started getting better, and yeah, I ended up finishing that tour. But I was fortunate that it was like the top of my pelvis, sort of like on my lower back. So by riding, it wasn't going to get any worse. And the doctor said, yeah, it's not going to get worse. It's just if you can put up with the pain. So that was a bit of a challenge then to try to finish. And because I'd worked all year to get there, and I'd missed the previous year, which Brad had won. And I really wanted to be part of a team who won the tour. So yeah, managed to get through that, and was in Paris then when Froome won, which was amazing. And then this other crash, which Jiffy was on about, I think it was when I hit the telegraph pole.
I think so.
We're going down the descent, and
yeah,
basically
just vanished.
Yeah, like a French guy. It was a bit like Mario Kart, and he came up on the inside and just T-boned me. I shot off and hit this telegraph pole down the ravine, and he just ended up getting around the corner then, like, thank you very much, and rode off. But luckily I got caught by a bit of tape at tarpaulin, and that stopped me going all the way down. So it was probably one of the best crashes, because I was fine, but it was really spectacular on TV.
It was spectacular. Yeah.
So, but my wife was actually, that was the first time she'd gone into S4C to just do a little bit of, I wouldn't say commentary, but, just chat a bit. And then this happens live, and then she just starts crying, and then she's there with two guys who are just like, it'll be all right.
It'll be all
right.
Like, thumbs up.
But,
crazy.
How do you compare being on the road? But obviously, we haven't touched on world champion, world records on the track, and Olympic gold medals too. So when you reflect on your career on the track and then on the road, what comes to mind about the Olympics? Please, Garrett.
The games are something like from when I was a kid. I remember being in my front room, just sat on the carpet, just watching, whatever it was, the swimming, the athletics, and just wanting to be part of the Olympics. I think in Barcelona was that 96?
92 Barcelona.
92. Yeah. So yeah, I remember that. So, yes, just dreaming of being part of that, and then ending up down Maindy and riding my bike, and then getting better and better, and then suddenly winning the worlds and being like, oh yeah, I can make a career out of this. I want to go to the games with a GB track team, who then really started to perform really well. And Beijing was my first Olympics, and it was just like, I think when you're young as well, you don't sort of realize the occasion really. You don't know how big it is. You don't know, the aftermath, what could happen. You just sort of, it's just the here and now. It's just like, oh yeah, whatever, we can go out here and win. And that's basically what we did. And then, you don't take anything in. We didn't go to the opening ceremony because, we didn't want to be on our feet for 3 hours. We were just sat there resting. We didn't go to the closing ceremony because I was racing on the road. I had to get back to Italy to race. So it was just so different. And then come London, it was a totally different atmosphere, obviously, but people were giving us our gold medal before we even raced, because, we'd been so dominant. Yeah. And it was like that expectation was just massive. But at the same time, we still managed to be quite relaxed and just wanted to take it in more, because, 4 years older, I sort of realized like it is pretty special. This, it's not just because you go through it saying it's just any other race. We're racing the same people we've raced all the time, all year. And you talk yourself into it just being, whatever. It's just like racing a Maindy type thing, which is great at the time mentally. But when it's all done, you're kind of like, wow, yeah, I wish I'd taken it in a bit more. So London, I did that, and that was insane to win there. With the home crowd and, like I say, all that expectation, and then to actually do it and fulfill that was amazing.
When you're on the podium, is anyone saying, are you all chatting to each other? Is anyone making jokes, or is that you can't remember it all?
In Beijing, I can't really remember it, to be honest. I think, but yeah, in London we were definitely joking a bit more. So I was with like 3 of my really good mates as well. One of them was my best man, I had two best men. Yeah, one of them was my best man, and the other two were just good friends. And, we were just chatting and joking around. And, one of them was like singing the anthem really badly. And yeah, it was just a great, and then you go out together. And I think that night was probably one of the best. That, along with the night after winning the tour, were just like.
It is.
Special guest today, very special guest. One of the country's leading broadcasters, the sports presenter of the year on many occasions, awarded the MBE in the New Year's Honours List for her services to sport broadcasting and the promotion of women in sport. Welcome, Gabby Logan. Gabby, good to talk to you. First of all, first things first, is Jiffy a real nightmare off camera? Tell me, please, that he is a nightmare of prima donna and very, very difficult.
I wouldn't necessarily. Nightmare summed it up. You didn't need prima donna. He is exactly how you'd imagine off camera. He's unpredictable. He's cheeky. He's liable to turn up minutes before you need him. So you can't plan with him or prep with him. And but he's consistent in that, so at least you know what you're getting. You know what I mean? There's a consistency.
And then
to that.
arrives very late and just sort of breezes in as if it's all very, very off the cuff and winging it, but knows his stuff inside
exactly,
out.
and delivers every time.
We're lucky. We're experienced broadcasters, so you know what time you need to get there. I'm always there an hour before. I turn up when I need to be, and I've been shunned now into commentary, so I don't do as much with Gabby in studio. Only down a two-way down the camera. But this is going to be rather different for me, because rather than Gabby asking me questions, I'm going to be asking her questions now, so it might be a good opportunity to get my own back.
Raise those problems. Gabby, your Six Nations presentation positions, sometimes it doesn't half look cold. It looks so cold sometimes. And
no, this is my opportunity. Wow. You should hear her moan, let me tell you. She is, honest God, Gabby doesn't suffer fools in that studio, let me tell you.
This season in France, in Paris, for the
this year,
France-Italy game, it wasn't just me. Joe Worsley, he's a big guy, and he was shivering. Thomas Castagnet, I thought at one point rigor mortis had set in, because the three of them had like massive blankets over them, but I couldn't put the blanket over me because I was going to be on air potentially any minute. So I was absolutely, there was this wind coming through and it was just biting. When you can't stop your teeth can't stop chattering. And I think we were literally the most exposed position in the whole stadium. And on the Monday, the producer, Rich Hughes, one of our producers, he emailed me and he said, "You mentioned how cold you were 14 times throughout my programme." And I said, is that all?
What they try and do, right, is they try and bring the experience of a live game to the viewers, and then they stick us right in wind tunnels. Another bad place is Murrayfield, right? Yeah. And also the tannoy is right behind us. So, we were lucky. I could move about, but Gabby, you're lucky, Gabby.
4 hours.
You look good in a hat, right? I don't, so that's why I'm so.
I'm not allowed to wear a hat. He won't let me.
Yeah, well, you should. You should. Paul Connor's got no hair, right? He's freezing. He's absolutely freezing.
He pulls a little hat out and takes it off.
Obviously, he thought he was turning up in in Dubai because he had a jacket. No thought. I was thinking, what is he thinking? So it's great for me to see all these big, rough, tough blokes freezing their nuts off, right? But it's like
because also I think quite often these guys who don't work with us regularly, if they go to a Six Nations match nowadays, not as a player, they're probably in hospitality. Yeah. So there's a few glasses of something have gone down before the match to warm them up. Then they nip in at half time, do a little speech, have another couple of glasses. They're not sitting in that, freezing wind tunnel for the whole time. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way, because I love the fact that we're outside. I did the Women's World Cup last year in France, and we were similarly in, it was gorgeous weather, however, we were in those positions where you're in the stand practically. And when you've done that kind of broadcasting, you don't want to go back to a sealed box because you feel so much a part of the, the whole experience. And I think you can really bring that back to the viewer at home. So for all the weather challenges, and there have been some, I think it does add to the whole coverage.
And what I How did you end up being? Because I know you got strong links with Leeds. How did you end up? Why not Leeds as maybe Newcastle?
So when I was well, you'll know this, Ray. When you move around as a footballer, obviously your kids kind of move around with you as to where So when my dad left Leeds, I was 4. Then he went to Coventry, and I spent a few years going to Highfield Road and watching a bit of Coventry City before they moved out to the Rico. And then we went to Spurs, and then he went to Vancouver Whitecaps, and then he came back and he went to Bradford. Then he went to Swansea, then he went to Bradford. So he was moving around and my allegiances were moving around. On a Saturday, looking at the football results, my eyes were darting all over the place. There's so many divisions and then he went off to manage Wales just before I went to university. And so at that point then I didn't really have a Saturday, there wasn't a club I was with on a Saturday. And so I went to watch Newcastle United in my first term at Durham. And my mum had a small sports management agency. And she had a player who'd signed for Newcastle. And she said, if you take his wife to the matches, I'll pay you 10 quid. So I used to pick his wife up in my Fiat Panda, drive her to the matches. And then the player, who was from Cyprus, didn't realise that his contract had tax to come off as well. So he left. So he went back to Cyprus. And I just kept on going to the matches. And then I started going out with a Geordie at university. So he was a Newcastle United fan. And then I worked for the local radio station. And you know what local radio is like. If you work for a station that is in a city like Newcastle, all the sport isn't sport. It's Newcastle United. It's like the news and the Newcastle United. So I just became, that kind of one big club, city, town kind of atmosphere. And I just got sucked into it. And it was the Keegan era. And it was, it was just amazing. And the players that we had at that time was so special for so many, from the Peter Beardsleys, David Ginolas, Tino Asprias, Les Ferdinands, these huge characters who just took over the town. And so, I've definitely I've thought in the last few years that it would have been handier to have had somebody a bit more local. But you stick with them, don't you? And obviously, at the moment we're still in the Premier League.
But Newcastle as a city is just massively infectious, and every time you go on the train you see the stadium as you're arriving, and then of course in the Great North Run they have something that really that deserves a Nobel Peace Prize or something like that for the good that is done. Guest today, our very special guest, has a statue at Wembley. Have you got a statue at Wembley yet?
No, and I don't think I ever will. I don't know. It's one Welshman there already. Billy Boston's there, I think. So I said, we're done. I got no chance. So Martin deserves this. He's our guest, of course, is legend Martin O'Fire.
Let me just read through some Martin. Rugby League tries for Widnes, Wigan, London Broncos, Salford, Eastern Suburbs in Australia, St George's Dragons, Rugby Union for Bedford and Wasps in Rugby Union, that is. Add on all the international tries. Martin, thank you for joining us. I've probably forgotten and left out a few, but we're delighted that you've joined us today. When Jiffy arrived at Widnes, what were your first impressions?
My first impression was not this guy again, because even Jiffy has been a bone of contention with me throughout my rugby career. It started back in 1986, playing in the Aberystwyth Sevens. I mean, somebody has actually gone and put the program. If you go to my Twitter feed, I think you'll see someone's put all the programs and the scores for all the rounds from this competition played in Aberystwyth. I think in the semi-final, I scored 4 tries in that semi-final. I think I scored a hat-trick in both first rounds of that competition. And Jonathan Davis somehow still managed to win man of the competition. No?
He's not bitter. He's still not bitter. He's not bitter. And it was brilliant. So where did the nickname? It's a brilliant nickname. Where did Chariots come from? Who christened you Chariots?
I know it's so funny. That is a bit of one of these mythology sort of tales. I recently got a telephone call from the RFU. Actually, it turns out that their curator at the museum found footage of me playing in the Middlesex Sevens before I went to play rugby league. And the crowd, when I had the ball, was singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, because apparently the first time that had ever been sang at Twickenham was when Chris Otey scored in the, I think it was the 88 Six Nations game when he scored a hat-trick in the second half against Ireland. But the RFU Museum had found this footage where I had been playing, and because someone had said, oh yeah, we used to call him Chariots because his name was Martin Fire. So I didn't even know. It was like the first time I'd actually seen it was when I was playing rugby league. I think the Daily Mirror did a big thing on me, story, and and the headline was Chariots of Fire, and then they said, can we come and do a picture of yours? I said, okay then. So I dressed up in a Roman centurion's uniform. They didn't have a chariot, so they they put me in the back of a wheelbarrow, and I've got the picture. I'm sure it's on my Instagram feed. There's a picture of me in a Roman centurion's outfit in the Daily Mirror, front page of or sports page, back page of the Daily Mirror, in a wheelbarrow. And so that's the first time I'd even heard the name Chariots, but apparently people had called me that before. It's not something that I'd really sort of adhered to because, my nicknames were either Tinner or Jibber. Those are the only two nicknames I've ever had playing rugby league. I think it was Tony Milo started calling me Tinner, Tin Can Man, Tin Martin, and when I got to Wigan, my mates called me Jibber because I used to jibber all the hard work and just score tries. So those are the only personal nicknames I had. But
I call him Tin.
Yeah, Tin. Yeah, that was my nickname at Widnes. That came from Tony Myler.
I tell you, talking about changing rooms, Dave, do you remember? Because we had a lot, like I said, talking about the chemistry in the change rooms and the determination and everything. Because we played touch rugby and everything before the game with Widnes. We did a lot of it, and I still think young kids should play touch rugby now because it's so structured. But do you remember that time? Because you were so quick and messed about all the time. Do you remember when you and Andy Currier had a fight?
Oh yeah.
Own team, right? Our own team, and we had these little lockers.
Yeah, we did that.
Andy Currier from Widnes just couldn't take Tin taking the piss anymore, so he smashed him through the locker.
Locker's what he did, yeah.
I was sat there like this going, what is going on here? What is going on? Oh, I was just, but you have good laughs. You have good laughs
it's bouncy,
calm down. Everyone calm down. Everyone calm down. Okay, let's go to the play now.
It was, because that's how, it is competition, and, it is, and I remember when I got to Widnes, the first thing that Dougie told me is that, Martin, come, because no one knows who you are, you want to make an impression. So I'd spent that whole summer at an athletics club, and I remember the first sprint when you used to get you on the line, and you used to do 10 on the bang, you used to do sprints, I just made sure that, bang, you left everyone, because that way you make an impression, and everyone's like, oh God, this kid's, this kid's got something. And we did used to have good competition with our 10 on the bangs on a Saturday morning before to get the fastest time. When we used to stand on the try line, you had to run to the 22 and back again 10 times, and it was like a little bit of a mini endurance sprint race. And
then we'd have
Chinese
on the fish and chip shop, and then watch Football Focus. Honestly, that was it.
That was it. Yeah. I remember when we got to Widnes, they were so far behind the times that they used to have sherry in the changing room at half time when it was really cold. They used to have sherry in the changing room in little cups. And I remember one day Joe Grimmer put them all in one cup and drank it, and then he had the most amazing second half performance, and everyone kept going, Joe's pissed. I was thinking of that now in this modern world of sport, So when you went to Wigan, it was total opposite. They were fully focused. They were all about the mental aspects of sport. Because I remember when we used to play Wigan, we was a little bit in awe of them. They used to come into the off the bus, walk into the change room, and if you knew one of the or two of the players because you played with them in international football, they wouldn't even look at you. They wouldn't take you on because they were that focused. And things like like visualization, mental preparation. Like at Wembley, if you look at the old videos of people at Wembley waving, but Wigan they weren't. They just were focused. And that people thought that Wigan was like their own arse, but they weren't. This was the precursor of the mental aspect of sport. They were doing things, and we were doing things which now sports psychiatrists give names to, but they didn't know what they didn't have a name back then. They were just doing what they were doing, being mentally focused, focusing on your job, not worrying about what everyone else does, not playing the occasion. People didn't know about things like that before Wigan, and they were sort of big on Dave Fever, who went on to become the physio at Man United and I think Blackburn. The physical preparation is the stuff they used to do, rehab sessions and work we used to do in swimming pools, all those things. So Wigan has been the leader, and then what Wigan did, with rugby union, going down to play in the Middlesex Sevens and those matches with Bath, the cross-code challenges, they really shaped, a lot of professional sport and how, rugby union is today.
Martin, we started off by talking about the statue at Wembley. What is it like? I have to say, just like emotionally, to have a statue cast of you and at Wembley Stadium. I'm being serious now. That must be a massive thing to just take on with making progress in the sport of rugby and rugby league. Then to have a statue of yourself at Wembley Stadium. Wow.
I've always said, I've never won the lottery, but the day that I actually saw it unveiled, the emotions that I felt, I thought this is what it must feel like to win the lottery. Because I just thought to myself, if if someone gave me the choice between £1 million and that, I would definitely take that, because that is going to last forever. Your £1 million you can earn, you can spend, you lose, whatever. But that the emotions I felt that day were on a par with the emotions I probably felt the day that I scored that try at Wembley. Arguably the best try ever scored. Arguably.
That try. When you broke through. Okay, so people ask me all the time, what happened when you saw when you things happening during the try, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's like, you just assess things very quickly.
Yeah.
When you only run straight because Alan Tate played with us, right, for a long time. And Tate was quick. Tate was quick. Yeah. Did you know that when he showed you the outside, did you know I've got it?
Mate, as you say, it helped that, I'd played with Tatey for a long time. I'd spent years doing 10 on the bangs with Tatey. I knew he was quick. I knew that you were quick, but I knew he wasn't as quick as me. So if I have a race with Tatey and Tatey gives me a head start, I know he's not beating.
But he was good at getting his angles right. So did you think, right, hang on, when did you know you'd done it?
Like, you know what I mean? It's like when you're watching Star Wars. You can have Jedis, but Obi-Wan Kenobi is on a different level, and that's what there's levels. There is levels to this, and there's no way that I would dare take Tatey on the outside just like that, because he's gonna have me in the corner. So if you watch that try, I go in, I go out, I go in, I go out. And then it's like basically having a race with somebody and you say go. That's basically what it is. So it looked better. It is. I knew that he couldn't get me, because all it is, I always say to people that a lot of times when you're running, that when you're ahead of somebody, even though they've got the ball, you know what I mean? You've still got to catch them. So it means you've got to run faster than they are running to catch them. Yeah. So, that's one thing I was always good was that people say that, people say, oh, well, you're a good sprinter. I wasn't that fast, but my skill was I could run fast with the ball in hand. We used to practice that quite a lot.
Let's ask our special guest. Thank you, Mark Lawrenson, for joining us today. On his birthday too. Lawro, 5 times the title with Liverpool, 3 League Cups, the FA Cup, the European Cup, a host of footballing honours, 39 caps for the Republic of Ireland, and top draw broadcaster. Lawro, happy birthday. Thank you for joining the Jiffy and Stubbsy podcast. What are your thoughts on the return of sport?
Well, I think everybody needs, the whole nation needs a lift, Stubbsy, doesn't it? I think that's the most important thing. And while obviously I've seen the Bundesliga and been watching it, I think not just sound, as Jiffy's talking about, but also that the games aren't quite as intense.
No.
Now, that may suit some teams, may obviously not suit other teams as well. But
Lawro, seeing we're talking about Liverpool, I know this story. Tell Jiffy about when you signed for Liverpool and who came to pick you up.
Oh yeah, well it was a morning after I signed Jiffy, and it had a late night the night before because I went for a medical in the ground at Liverpool, and I stayed in the hotel, the Atlantic Tower, overnight. All good, and I got a phone call in the morning from reception saying, "Oh, your lift's here, Mr. Lawrenson, to take you to the ground," because I had to go and do some form signing and all that kind of stuff. So. Best suit on and everything, walked out the door, and I just saw this gold Ford Granada. Jiffy, it looked like a pimpmobile. Right? And then this guy slowly got out, and it was Bob Paisley. And I thought, well, fair enough. And as he got out, right, he had his slippers on, okay, and a cardigan, which was like, and it was like your granddad in charge of the team. But the other thing which absolutely just sold the football club to me was he had fried egg on his front of his cardigan, and I just thought, yeah, you'll do for me. European champions.
What was it like? What was it like going into that kind of Liverpool? I've been lucky now. I played at Anfield in a charity cup. I scored a hat trick. Well, 3 goals.
All right.
Conversions, 3 conversions, easy. But the whole change room for us, and this is Anfield sign and walking, and I've been there working. Because the new stand is open as well, and it's just phenomenal. What was it like to go there as a new signing right into the Lions' den?
They paid. I mean, I think Kenny Dalglish cost 440 grand, and I was 900 grand plus VAT, so it was actually over $1 million. So it was a little bit daunting. And I just mentioned as well, just before the night before, I met Bob Paisley when I was in the ground sorting other stuff out. Graham Souness was there. And he had this big black eye, and I thought, what the hell, right? And they'd only just won the European Cup against Madrid in Paris and stuff. And he just looked at me, and he kind of looked at my face, and he said, I was in a bar, he says, and there was 3 Evertonians. He said, I managed to do 2 of them, but I couldn't quite do the 3rd one. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what sort of football club have I joined? And the other thing about that was that very first game was a pre-season friendly about 5 days later against Atletico Madrid in Madrid. And as we started training, Alan Kennedy and the aforementioned Graham Souness were scrapping. And we're only in the warm-up.
Mark, did it surprise you that Lawrenson and Hansen were so successful on the pitch, but then they became incredibly successful in a television studio? Knowing Alan well, did it surprise you that he sort of went into broadcasting? Because my memories of working as a local radio reporter with Liverpool in those days was you could never get him to speak to you. Getting an interview of Hansen was like, well, it was impossible. And then all of a sudden, he is one of the most accomplished broadcasters ever. Did it surprise you he turned to broadcasting?
Yeah, but I mean, he just didn't do your interviews because he didn't like you, Stubbsy. But sorry to give you that bad news nowadays. You know what? Excuse my friend. He couldn't be arsed. He really could not be arsed. He'd just be thinking, now I want to get home. What am I doing all that for? But no, because he was, was an intelligent lad. We found out, after about 4 or 5 years playing together, we both did Latin at school, and which sounds a bit kind of really.
That just means you're old, Lauro. I did it as well, so don't worry. That just means
there you go. Mea culpa and all that, Jiffy. So that was every week. But Al doesn't really like football. He's hardly been to any game since. He's only lived round the corner. He's just not interested. But this is the ability that he had. He was brilliant at football. It was too easy for him. He played football for Scotland, squash for Scotland, and golf for Scotland. Apart from that, he had no talent whatsoever.
That is sickening, that is. I hear people like naturals.
And tall, good looking, and speaks well. But apart from that, he hasn't been dealt too many aces.
I did enjoy though. Like when I went into the broadcasting, I did watch a lot of the other broadcasters, and you pick a lot up from them. And it was just how you and him kind of explain. That's what I kind of learned is explaining. Because I look there, the commentator says what's happening, and the co-commentator says why it's happening.
Yeah,
and that's what it's just a little bit of a partnership. So I watched a lot of the television, how they analyse games. And it was so good. I still enjoy Match of the Day. I don't watch much like football, but the Match of the Day is there. It's a simple formula. You have a highlights, analysis, highlights, analysis. That's what people want. It's as simple as that's why it's been so successful.
Well, and Sky have been brilliant, haven't they?
Yes.
The stuff they've got. I mean, they've obviously got the money and stuff. But when they employed Gary Neville, they actually put him that massive big screen up in his lounge at home so he could practice. Now, the BBC, you get absolutely no chance. You probably get an abacus. You probably got one, Jiffy. But that's where they've been great. But I do say, in terms of co-commentating, until you've worked with John Motson, you've not worked with anybody, both good and bad. Is that right, Stubbsy?
Well, it's a test for you. I know that. It's been a massive test for you down the years. But you know what jumps out, Lauro? The enthusiasm of those top broadcasters. Their enthusiasm just jumps out, and it brings the game alive for you.
Yeah, I mean, Jiffy, they're all saddos, aren't they? Because they spend Thursday, Friday night with the stats and all that, and they can bore for Brighton, but they are very, very good, you know. And the biggest thing with them is if they make one mistake, it absolutely tears them apart. And if you think, you know, all the people I've worked with radio and TV, but Motson has never ever made a mistake. And the bigger the game, the better his commentary. And I know people chat out about stats, and he is a bit barking mad, Stubbsy, as we know. We've looked after him for years, but you know, come with the hour, come with the man with Motty.
And I think I would say, yeah, they are odd characters, eccentric characters. I like one of the best I've worked with now is Andrew Cotter. You know, and if you watch him on Twitter or Instagram now, he's doing comments on dogs, right, which has got millions of hits, right? But he just turns his hand. 1 minute he's doing European Cup, the next thing he's doing internationals. Then he's doing the Golf Open. Then he's doing the Australian Tennis Open. You know, the ability that they have just to soak all, you know, the information in, and then you're right. I still remember people like David Coleman and Barry Davis and the commentary.
Bill McLaren, Jeff.
I know we're all Cliff Morgan and Bill McLaren, you know, Ray French and all these. They are just, they you know, in sport now, they make the sport. Sometimes they make the sport.
They are a unique breed in terms of personality, wouldn't you both agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mad.
Well, I mean, Stubbsy, you know all the Motson stories, and there are many, but the best one I can tell you was Germany, whatever year it was for the World Cup. And I think we were not in Hamburg, obviously somewhere in Germany. It was a really hot, sunny day, and we're in the main stand about 10 minutes away from commentating. And I used to leave Motty to do whatever he did. He was looking at all these facts and figures. I'd said hello to him about an hour ago and just wander up to the point. And Karen Graham, who you'll know, Stubbsy extremely well, lovely girl as well. And they asked her to kind of produce him and look after him, which he needed looking after. And I've got to the commentary position, and Motty's got his head down in his papers, in his books. And Karen's there, and she looked at me, she said, "Oh, thank God you're here." I said, "Why? What's the problem?" And she said, "Oh, it's been really, really difficult." And I said, "More difficult than normal?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Why?" And then she said, "Well, look at that stand over there." And the stand opposite the main stand was low, and it was sunny, and the sun was blasting in his face. And apparently Karen just said, "Well, he didn't even look at me. He just put his hand up, and he said to me, 'Do something about that,'" which was the sun, Jiffy.
They love routine, don't they? They love routine. They get up there, you know, and they'd have to, like with, you know, Ray and Bill, you'd have to take them to their commentary point. They'd sit there at a specific time and just routine. And how many years they did it, they still had to be kind of looked after and sat in the same spot at a particular time.
Yeah, and even after the game, you know, Stubbsy, Motty, few little tots of whiskey and then a toasted cheese sandwich and off to bed. Bonkers.
Yeah, routine, Lauro. Got to stick to the routine. Lauro, you went into management and you were on the coaching team at Newcastle. What are your memories and your thoughts of being in management? Because then you went and decided to have an accomplished career in broadcasting. Well, when you look back to your management years, what jumps out?
Oh, well, as you know, I finished at Liverpool at 29, almost 30, because I snapped my Achilles and it was never the same. The day after I finished, I was appointed manager of Oxford United for Robert Maxwell. In fact, for Kevin Maxwell. Kevin was Robert's son, although Robert Maxwell owned Derby and they also owned Oxford. Yeah, discuss. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it, but I knew at some stage I would fall out with Robert Maxwell, even though he wasn't my chairman. And Derby were wanting to take Dean Saunders, who played for us and obviously was going to be a big star, and he was always already a very, very good player. And they'd ring Arthur Cox, the old Derby manager, would ring me nearly every day. And I said, "Listen, Arthur, he's not for sale." And he said to me, "Well, tell Mr. Maxwell that." And I said, "Well, Kevin knows he's not for sale. You know, Kevin Maxwell, his son, who's our chairman, he knows he's not for sale. So just like, don't bother ringing me." Anyway, it came to a head. And one Saturday we were playing Blackburn Rovers at home. I got a phone call an hour before the game from Kevin Maxwell saying, "Mark," he said, Dean Saunders can't play today because he's signing for Oxford. Signing for Derby after the match. And I went, really? He said, yeah, I'll speak to you later all about it. He said, but he's going to go and play for my father. Right. Anyway, I played him. I thought, bollocks, excuse my French. and he scored and we drew 1 each. And at the end of the match, I pulled him in and I said, look, you're free to go and speak to Derby. Listen, he'd probably already spoken to them. That's the way that football is. And he said to me, what sort of money should I ask for? And I said, well, if you think about it, he said, so Kevin is selling you to his dad, right? I said, so whatever you have a figure in your head, he didn't have an agent. I said, times it by 3, because this deal will not fall through, which he sort of did. But I fell out with Maxwell and had a kind of stand-up row with him in the penthouse of the Mirror buildings, People, Sunday Mirror and all that kind of stuff. And basically... I stood up and gave him the whole diatribe, and he just looked at me and he said, you know what? He said, I like the way that you speak. He said, I like the job you've done. He says, but can I tell you this? And so this is the owner of Derby talking to the manager of Oxford. He said, it's got F all to do with you, and just walked out, and that was me gone.
And all my daughters have descended me on this week. So I'm now in the house with 5 women. So I'm trying to get out as much as I possibly can. That's about it this week.
We have a very, very special guest joining us today, a sporting knight of the realm of cricket who stands in the ICC Hall of Fame, one of the greatest ever players, but also a leading administrator, a leading broadcaster. If we start to list all his achievements on the pitch, it will take ages. We're joined by Sir Ian Botham, who is also one of those unique sportsmen that play county cricket and league football for Scunthorpe United. Sir Ian, thank you for joining us. When I was growing up, that was a very unique little group of players that would play cricket in the summer, then sort of get out onto the pitch and play football in the winter. I seem to remember Chris Balderstone, Jimmy Coombs, fast bowler for Worcestershire, the goalkeeper for Tranmere Rovers. It was quite a group.
Yeah, don't say the Tranmere Rovers. He likes the Villa side of it, not Tranmere Rovers. But no, there was Phil Neal. Yeah, he played about 400, 500 games for Lincoln.
Did he?
Oh, he was down there forever. Who else was there? There was a few. Arnie Sidebottom.
Yeah. There's the other one. He had the rugby boys. Well, you had Alistair Hignell famously, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he played for England in cricket and rugby. So, but you couldn't do it now, both, could you? Because I think the seasons are so structured, and coaches want their kind of pennies worth of you that you've got to make a call, which is kind of sad, really.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing as well, Jiffy, was that when we were doing it, there was no central contracts. So basically, your contract with Somerset in England expired at September and didn't start again until next April. So not one to sit around and do nothing. Scunthorpe was 15 miles up the road from where we lived in North Lincolnshire. And I went up there and said, come and do some training. A very good friend of ours who sadly passed away very young with a brain tumour lived in the same village as us, and I got to know him. And we went, he said, well, come up to Scunthorpe and do some training if you want. And Steve Earle and I potted up. Steve was playing in the first team, and I started training with the guys and signed the following week professional terms. And,
well, it was interesting because Mark Lawrenson, who joined us last week, said he had the chance to join Lancashire. The two Neville brothers, apparently, I'm told, were incredibly talented cricketers. Was it an easy decision, Ian, to go cricket, or did you ever waver about football?
You obviously didn't see me play football, Stubbsy. But no, I think I was a stopper. But no, I think that when you look at the Neville brothers, I mean, Philip in particular, I think was the cricketer. I mean, it's a big decision to make, isn't it? You've got Lancashire County Cricket Club banging on the door, and then on this side of the door, you've got Man United. Yeah, it'd be a tough one to make that, wouldn't
it? Yeah. So not like Scunthorpe, really, is it, Man United?
No. Excuse me, Scunthorpe, the mighty Scunthorpe. And I'm president of the club now. So there you go. So we go. Kath and I go pottering down to watch the games whenever we can, which is when I'm home most of the time. and I travel to the away game. So yeah, it's I love it.
That's
great
commitment. Travelling to away games, that's a huge commitment, that is.
Oh yeah, and when you think we're Scunthorpe, Plymouth's a long way away, and but you make the most of it. We had some great times, and I continue doing it when I can. As soon as we get over this lockdown situation, and we can all hopefully, get on as much as we can with our normal lives.
I got to ask you before you go anywhere. What the knighthood, was it for services to cricket or services to charity?
I think it was probably a combination.
Yeah.
In all honesty, 2007 seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? But it goes quickly. But no, I think it was a combination, Jiffy. I think it was acknowledgement of the charity work and also a bit of cricket. Yeah.
Okay. Ian, do you get nervous on a day like that? Having been in the environment, a sort of top-class sporting environment, when on a day when you are made a sporting knight of the realm, does it generate nerves?
Do you know, I never really had problems with nerves throughout my career, but what it did generate, and it was the same when I played cricket, walking out of the field or playing football, was excitement. And I think that's a better word than nerves, to be honest, because I looked forward to the day. You can only take 3 guests, and so we took my 2 at the time grandsons, James, now with Cardiff, and Regan, who's actually making wine in Western Australia, following on from his granddad, take over the family business eventually. But so we went to, you drive in, you're all dressed up, and I took Kath as well. I thought I'd better take Kath. And then we went there, and you come into the palace, and I get immediately whipped away to be shown what to do, and the kids were there, and they had a ball. They're fascinated by the Gurkhas. First thing I got told was, those swords can cut paper, Grandad. So I thought, okay, they're enjoying it. And it was a great day out. And it was actually one of the proudest moments. And with the kids up there, the 2 grandsons and Cass sat there watching it. No, it was special, very, very special day. And then they looked after us very, very well at Lord's. They had a reception, which they did, and they organised and planned, and they invited about 400 friends from all different walks of life, including, which I liked, all the local friends here from the village and around. So it was quite a day out, and then we had dinner in the evening. So they made it a very special day. It's one I'll never forget.
Yeah. Were you in Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle, or where were you?
Palace with the Queen.
Oh, right there. I had one, right? When I did the OB, we went to Windsor, and I took Jay and a couple of the kids with me, and we went for a walk on the night before, and we walked into this pub, and there was one of the special police retirement do, right? And he's Welsh. So we had we got steaming, me and my wife, and then we couldn't find our way back to the hotel, right? So the police picked us up, and then the policeman tweeted going, well, nice to meet you, hope you got home safe. Next morning, the Daily Mail said, I was picked up by the police, before my OBE. Bloody pathetic, isn't it? How it got spin. So who's the best batsman you bowled at? What?
Oh, that's the easiest question I ever get, that is. Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards by a country mark.
So but that was that interesting because you knew each other so well, we played for Somerset, you were such good friends, right? When you saw him coming in to bat, because I loved the way you walked in a test match, shirt up to your chewing gum, swinging his bat, you're talking about when you go for a job interview. He didn't have to get to the crease, he got the job already, right? That's the way he is, right? And then, because then, of course, he come flip a Glamorgan, and I just loved him. Because you knew him so well, was it just more intriguing and more of a mental battle against him?
Look, we grew up together. So we joined Somerset, we played our first games for Somerset, first-class games together. We started together our first-class career. So, I probably knew his game better than most, and he certainly knew my game better than most. But, the great thing was we were highly competitive when we played against each other. In fact, there was probably a bigger and more intense atmosphere with that than any other part of the game, because we both rose to the challenge. I wanted to get him out, and he wants to hit me out of the ground. And he did on many occasions. But, the way that guy adapted to all formats of the game, whether it's a 20-over game, 40-over game, 50-over, 60-over, 5-day test, it didn't matter. 3-day game as they were in those days, it didn't matter. He could play it all. And I think one of the real players, there's one or two now that can do that. I think Steve Smith can do it for Australia. Yeah. I think Virat Kohli can do it for India. And I think Virat Kohli is the best thing that ever happened to Indian cricket. I think he's been brilliant for the country as well as a player. But and Viv did the same for the Caribbean, for the West Indies. The West Indies, they dominated for such a long period, and that was down to people like Viv, the characters in the side. But Viv, we shared a house for 10 years. We had ups and downs, but more ups than downs. He would. If I wasn't I wasn't happy about something, or not playing as well as I could, or when I had the captaincy and things weren't going brilliantly, he was the first guy to come round, knock on the door, sit down, and we'd have a chat and have a glass of rum or a glass of wine, whatever, red wine, whatever, and sit there and enjoy the moment and talk to each other. And that still goes on now. If I didn't see Viv for 10 years and he walked into the room now, it'd be like we've been there together for 10 years. That kind of relationship. He's godfather to Liam, my son, and all the kids call him Uncle Viv, which I find quite amusing.
Uncle Viv.
Yeah, but it's a very close relationship. It always will be, and one that I cherish, and I believe he cherishes as well. So, yeah, we did a tour of Australia, and we had the family over because it was just a bad time to be around with everything that was going on with the media, etc., etc. And it actually cost me money to pay for England, because what I got paid did not cover the hotel and flights for the family, etc. But I wouldn't have changed it, because our room became the team room, and that was '86 when we actually were written off by everybody in Australia, and we won everything. Everything that was thrown our way, we won. There's test series, one-day series. There was a 50-over competition because of the America's Cup, so all the teams were there. And that was one of probably the best tours of all time. But it is difficult when you're away for a long time.
We used to try and find a telephone, because we had to pay for our own telephone calls back home. So we used to scour the hotels, and any phone that was unmanned, we'd jump on it, right? And I remember we were leaving one hotel in New Zealand, and we'd all paid our bills and everything. And the manager came on and said, right, someone's had used a phone in the manager's office. I want you to own up. Nobody owns up. And next thing, someone says, look, we got the number now. So unless you own up, we're going to read the number out. No one owns up. And next thing he goes, right, number is 01220 666 543. And Mark Ring jumps up and goes, who's been ringing my fucking wife?
Brilliant.
Ian, they played the '66 World Cup final back on the TV at the weekend, the replay of England-West Germany 1966. Do you look back at stuff? Do you look back at some of the great moments you were part of? And do you have any sort of pecking order? I'm assuming that you might see things, you probably see things differently than we do. There might be a little moment that we don't clock, and you will understand the significance of it.
Well, I just mentioned '86 when we went to Australia. That was one of the great, just everything was great about that tour. The families, the kids, the atmosphere, the team room. We got this suite. No wonder it cost me a fortune. But every hotel, and we had there, we had the team. We had 4X was supplying us with beer. Lindeman's at the time were putting wine in the room, and everyone just converged there. And it was the party. And everybody, even during the games, they come in just a quiet 5 minutes. In hotels, sometimes you can't get that. You go down the lobby, someone wants to ask you a question, someone wants that. So this team room became very important, and we had a great time up there. And everybody just enjoyed themselves. So yeah, obviously '81 changed my life. '86 I enjoyed. I'm still want to get a £40 salmon, so that's on my agenda. So there's a lot of things to look forward to as well. A hole-in-one on the golf course, never achieved that.
Haven't you had one yet?
No, never. I've broken the hole, I've hit the pin, I've done all sorts. And
what's your handicap now?
Oh, well, if I'm playing against you, Jiffy, a lot, because I know what a cheat you are. So, but no, it's a great game, golf. Keeps you competitive, but do you know, you've got to have things that you want to do, keep going and look forward and get all pumped up about. But I'm playing golf this afternoon. Played against Liam yesterday. We halved, sadly. But not that I'm competitive, and not that he's competitive. No, these are the little things that keep you going. But do you know what? My first ever game for Scunthorpe, always remember that, because then I played on Boxing Day against Hull City at the old Boothbury Park, full house, marking Billy Whitehurst, one of the hardest men in football, and next day flying to the West Indies to captain England. And that went down with all the authorities, but no central contracts. But no, lots of things you remember for different milestones. You know, playing that first ever first class game with Viv, both of us will never forget that. There's all kinds of milestones. I get a bigger buzz now once I stop playing was to watch Liam play when he was playing.
Yeah.
And now going down and watching my grandson. And you know, it was a big year for him, I think, this year. But everyone's been pushed back because of coronavirus. But you know, he's itching to get going. You can imagine that, you know, just turned 22 and you want to play sports. So I love going down and watching him. Cardiff and I have always had an affiliation anyway with a lot of friends down there. And Gleneath, the city, the capital of Wales, Royal Gleneath Golf Course, and Max and everybody. So a lot of good friends down there. And, you know, I enjoy travelling and I enjoy doing that kind of thing and catching up. Like this with Jiffy now. We could probably go on for about 3 weeks. But no, it is. You've got so many special moments in your life. I always like to think there's a better one to come.
Ian, Ian, your fundraising has been absolutely phenomenal. Is it accurate that you took a wrong turn in the hospital and went into the
No.
And that sparked your involvement? Is that
no? I didn't take a wrong turn. I had to go through there to get to the physio department. So I'd broken a bone in my foot against the Australians. No, I didn't take the wrong turning. There wasn't another wrong turning to take. It was one corridor in. But that's how it all started, because I saw the kids and you know, kids that are obviously ill. You can see their in traction, or they've got tubes sticking out of them, whatever. And these kids were just sat around a board playing a board game on a table. And I've asked the doc what was going on. Are they just visiting? And he said, no, these kids are seriously ill. And that's when I first heard of leukemia. Never heard of it before. So, yeah, so that's how it all started. We did 17 walks. And one of the great things is the family were involved in all the walks, perhaps the first one. Either organising it, walking it, so it became our lives. So, and also lots of other events, golf days, etc. We're still doing it now.
It's phenomenal.
And also, but you did because you did, you know, not only walks in the UK, you know, you did walks in Sri Lanka and all over the place, didn't you?
Yeah, that was hot. Sri Lanka.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we were involved in Wales, where we did the
Noah's Ark
appeal. Helped that, which was great fun. And dear old Stan, I always remember, he said, took me to this luncheon and said, by the way, Beefy's going to do a walk for us. Now, that was the first I heard about doing a walk in Wales, right? So he announced it to all these people at this luncheon. So I just turned around and said, okay, Stan, that's great, but it's going to cost you a few weeks on your yacht.
Yeah,
and
lovely, good deal.
Sold the yacht for 6 weeks. And I got this phone call from Stan, Beefy, do you mind if I have my boat back now?
London. As always, we have a very, very special guest joining us. Awarded an MBE for his services to rugby union, the world record holder in regard to refereeing test matches, a respected broadcaster, and Nigel Owens joins us. Nigel, thank you for joining us. First of all, help me out here. I know in the broadcasting world you work with Jiffy. Tell me he's a bit of a prima donna to work with. It must be hard work.
Yeah, he is, Stubbsy, you're right. And he's forced my hand today. He said, if you don't come on this podcast, you won't be coming on the John and the Show with me again. So That's why I'm here. But no, he is. I wish, we probably get more fun rehearsing than you actually do with the actual film. And the filming is brilliant, but I wish people would come along to the rehearsals. It'd be prime time TV, peak viewing, but we'd probably never work again.
We get away because me and Nigel are kind of very same kind of morals, principles, values. I think we got the same sense of humor, right? So, and he's not politically correct, but only when he thinks things have gone too far, like me. So when I say things and he goes like this, I know then I might have crossed the line a little bit, but he's the one that kind of fights my corner as well. So I think we tend to back each other up. And Sarah Elgin is with us now, so she keeps the peace and everything. So she's I suppose the only professional presenter amongst us. But we've been doing it for 14 years now, haven't we?
God, if you know, you're up to 2004, so 16, 17 years coming up now. Yeah, 17 years.
Actually, Nigel, right? This is where tell him a story. We actually came out on the show because you can say the story now. He's gone. He texts me saying that.
Yeah, I sort of came out in 2005, I think it was. The show had been going about 2 or 3 years by then. So there we are. We got up to 17, 18 years, and
it didn't just come out with a bang. Fucking bells and whistles, didn't it? You haven't looked back.
And I text Jiffy and Larry Shaw was on there and Roland. I text, listen, I got something to tell you all. And I said to Jiffy, look, I'm gay. And Jiffy's message back was, I don't care if you're shagging a cow, you're still my mate. That was his line, which was so typical. And then, so we'd gone back to do the show, and the writers, it was the two writers in the show at the time were Matthew Glynn, Matthew and then his brother, and Daniel Glynn, Matthew and Daniel Glynn. Great script writers. They didn't know anything about rugby. Nothing at all. They were now writing a script for a rugby show. Jiffy said, spoken to Gareth Edwards, and Gareth is love to come on the show. And then the scriptwriters goes, who's Gareth Edwards? What does he do? And then they were writing the rugby show. But anyway, they went to us then, and they go, look, pretty much everybody knows you're gay now on and out. There's no need to make an official announcement and stuff like that. But we can't sort of carry on the show and it's not going to be mentioned. You know what Jiffy is like; he's going to mention it. So, and I think the first mention was, which we know it was straight everybody's head, was we were talking about what's your favorite cake. And he came up and I said, oh, my favourite cake? And before I could say anything, he said fairy cake. So it was obvious now, when we carry on with the show, something is going to be said. So they decided, what we're thinking of doing, we're going to write into the show. We won't make a big issue about it. We'll just, show usually starts. Jiffy's in his seat. Myself and Larry are on our seat. Roland is behind the bar. And then the music starts. Jiffy goes, Larry's here, Roland's here, Nigel's here. And what they decided to do now, the show's going to start. I wasn't going to be on my seat. In Welsh, Jiffy's going to say, well, where's Nigel tonight then? And Larry was going to go, oh, I don't know. He said he was coming out, as in coming out to play type of thing. And then all of a sudden, the song I Am What I Am would play. There'd be a closet on the stage. And then I would come out of the closet. And then nothing would be said. It was just, and we got on with the show. And that's how it was. But then the funny thing, Stubbsy, was this. My mum and dad had to go through all this coming out and stuff, which they were hugely supportive. Nothing changed. They loved me to bits. And but they found it very difficult because they're dealing with it, worrying about me more than anything else. And I said to the boys, oh, God, my mum and dad are going to go through this all again now. So this was a New Year's Eve special. So I rang my mum and dad. I wasn't going out that night. I was reffing the following day. I think the Blues are playing Ospreys, or Scarlets are playing Blues down in Pack of Scarlets. I was reffing the game, so I wasn't going out. So mum and dad said, we're going over the rugby club. Going to the Workingmen's Club in Munich tonight because there's a live singer there. And I said, well, I won't be coming up tonight and stuff like that. He said, but don't worry. He said, we recorded the Jonathan show. We'll watch that when we get home in the morning. And I said, all right, I got a chance here now. Once they go over the club, I go up to mum and dad's house. I'll pull the old tape video recorder.
I'll switch it off on the wall so it won't record, and then they won't see it. So, right, go up, and the spare key to the house, turn it off on the wall, turn it back on, recording cancelled. Following morning, ring my mum and dad up, brother newydd dda, siwrati neithwr, how'd it go last night? Happy New Year, blah, blah, blah. How'd it go last night in the club? Right, they said that the artist didn't turn up. The singer was supposed to sing in the music, didn't turn up. I said, well, bloody hell, what do you do then? There was over 100 people in the big room that night. So we had gave a bingo first of all, and then a couple of people in Moneycarry said, "Oh, why don't we stick the Jonathan show on?" So 100 people in Moneycarry Workingmen's Club saw me coming out of the closet, which I wanted to avoid, and it went straight over my dad's head. Straight over my dad's head. He knew nothing about the closet, man. So that's how I officially came out to Stubbsy.
Oh, what a fantastic story! You couldn't write it either.
He'd be gone. He'd be gone. Now you're gone.
You know, I am wondering that when the Premier League comes back for football and there's going to be no crowd there, I know the television companies are debating on what level of sound they're going to pick up, and if there is more. If they're going to pick up more about what the players are saying to the referee, I think that will be an interesting dynamic. Because, Nigel, I have to say, when I watch Six Nations or Test matches now, I have to say, with all due respect sometimes to our colleagues that are commentating, I love listening to what's going on. I love the interactions between yourself and the players. I really think it gives an insight. And I'm sure you're aware at the time that whatever's going on is there for us all to hear.
But that's what it was brought in for. Some people say, "Oh, bloody Nigel Owens," or referees, they like their own voices. Should be seen and not heard. But the only reason we're wearing the mic is because they decided to get the referee's voice broadcasted because they wanted to take rugby to a new global audience. They wanted people who. There were more people coming to games now, which weren't your traditional rugby supporters, or sponsorship, hospitality, and they just couldn't understand what was going on. So they wanted then to get a new viewer to the game. They wanted to sell the game and grow the game. So they thought, right, get the referee to explain the decision, which will help people understand. And it's done that. I think it's added, everybody has a different opinion and stuff then. And I would have, you're talking about, Wimbledon and stuff. I would have loved to referee Jiffy. Because I'll never forget, I was at home here watching a game. It was live, and I'm pretty sure it was a Sunday afternoon game. He'd just come back from rugby league, and I think it was going to be the first game he was back.
Bridgend Cardiff it was. Bridgend Cardiff.
Was it in Aberavon?
No, this was Bridgend. This was Bridgend Cardiff. This was
Sunday afternoon.
I think, and it was Di Young's first game back.
That's it. Him and Di Young, big hype live on telly. And then I think Gareth Simmons was refereeing. And he called a player, I can't remember who the player was.
I think Di Young. He'd only just come on. Di Young.
That's it, you're right.
The punch.
And he was going to give Di Young was going to walk. He's got a red card. And Gareth Simmons, I was watching at home, I thought, he's gone, you're a red card. And he gets his sort of wallet out. And you could see him getting his red card out to give it. And I would trots over, now was this one. Over he can, he says, no, first game back, no need for that. And he pushes the red card back into the referee's pocket in his hand, and the referee then changes his mind and gets the yellow card out. Di Young would have gone that day. He'd have gone. And he comes and pushes the card back in. I was thinking, it was unbelievable.
And thanks for listening to Jiffy and Stubbsy. Hope you'll join us again. Please hit the subscribe button.